Yesterday, the Prime Minister and the New South Wales Premier were confronted by a few frustrated locals during their tour of the flood-affected communities. Anthony Albanese announced more financial support for those impacted by the disaster, but say some more long-term solutions are going to be needed.
Confronting his first natural disaster as Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese stood alongside Dominic Perrottet to meet locals in the state's flood-ravaged northwest.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Meeting the owner of Hawkesbury's Helping Hands, which packages food supplies for those in need.
People are tired, there's a lot of anguish and despair. But our commitment from a state level and being here with the Commonwealth Government today is that we'll be with you every step of the way.
The Prime Minister announcing more funding for residents in 23 local government areas, which have been declared disaster zones. The disaster recovery payments include $1,000 for eligible adults and $400 for children. There's also an allowance for employees and sole traders who've lost income because of the floods.
This is, I believe, the quickest that these payments have ever been approved. This is on top of the joint arrangements that are being made available through New South Wales and the Commonwealth.
But one local says more needs to be done long term. Windsor resident Scott Hinks capitalising on the leader's visit.
This happened 3 months ago and everyone was talking about fixing the same problem. It's all on the radio, but nothing happened. So from our point of view, like when I go back home, we've tried ringing up local government and state government. No one's going to help me clean up. Out the backyard, I've got chemical containers that have floated in. I've got wood, I've got chairs that have floated in. But I'm going to bear that responsibility and that cost. You will speak to it, you will speak to the council, and that's the problem. There's a lot of speaking happening, but this is where this time with the Hawkesbury, we're a bit over. We need action.
Sky News visited the Hinks residence, which was inundated with more than 4 metres of water. Scott, can you tell me why you decided to do that?
Purely and simply just to get a voice out there for the community, where we're standing in the same position that we were standing in the March-April floods, hearing the same thing from leaders again, that their hearts go out to local residents, but there is no action being done by either party to rectify these problems. And this is the 4th time that we've flooded in 18 months, and there's no action.
Meeting with volunteers at a local community group in Windsor, the Prime Minister and Liberal Premier were keen to highlight how well they're working together and what lessons have been learnt.
I was disappointed with the pace of the rollout of the grants, particularly at the last event in relation to the Northern Rivers. My expectations were not met by the department. There were challenges in relation to the coordination between the joint state and federal payment systems.
The Premier praising the new Prime Minister's approach.
I know in some quarters the Prime Minister has been criticised for being away. What I would say is, from my perspective, the federal government needs to balance international concerns and domestic concerns.
To compare that with a holiday is, I just find, beyond contempt.
As residents in the northwest wait for floodwaters to recede, the danger has spread to the Hunter region and mid-north coast. Julia Bradley, Sky News in Windsor.